Welcome to episode 78 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me again, back on the couch, is my co-host, Matthew Aguilar.
What's up?
And Janelle Wheeler.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with you guys today to talk about some big things that have dropped. We got to talk about what's going on in the DC TV universe and also the Star Wars TV universe, as we have a new Superman TV show coming. Plus, we've gotten the first trailer for Star Wars, The Mandalorian, the full trailer. So there's a lot to talk about there. And we've got some updates on what's going on in the Game of Thrones universe, some even breaking news on that front that I haven't put you guys in the show notes, so you guys will be unprepared for that. That's fun. And Matt's going to, as always, break down what's going on in the world of comics for us to kind of geek over. So, getting started today, we're going to start right at the top with the big piece of news. We've gotten the first trailer for the Star Wars TV series. The Mandalorian is out, and yeah. Well, I don't know what sound was that?
That was your excited sound, right?
That was like half Star Wars sound and a general excited
That was very Blue's Clues.
There you go. I mean, it's appropriate association for this show. So, The Mandalorian, of course, is about a character called the Mandalorian from that Star Wars world where they make the armor, the iconic armor that Boba Fett wore and Jango Fett wore. But if you know anything about like the larger Star Wars universe, Clone Wars, the animated series, Rebels animated series, there's a whole bunch of storylines that have to do with Mandalore. But now this one is set after the original trilogy and what's going on in the Outer Rims, because Mandalore is a world on the Outer Rims, which is basically Star Wars speak for that place out there that we haven't fully defined yet, and we can just pull anything out of.
That's awesome, yeah.
If something strange happens, it comes from the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
It's a great way to kind of get around things. And so this is our first like real Star Wars Underworld series, and I'm digging the vibe. I didn't necessarily need another trailer because the teaser was just so perfectly atmospheric and like kind of edgy, but still Star Warsy. But this one does a good job, and it does a good job because it mostly relies on its best feature, which of course is Werner Herzog. And so in this trailer, they give him a whole voiceover because he's some kind of like gang lord or something.
Yeah.
But we still haven't learned like that much. This is kind of an amazing marketing job they're doing for the show because it's really anticipated, but we don't even know the main character's name. Like, it's just called the Mandalorian. We've never seen him in the trailers with his helmet off.
At the very end, did we get a like sample of
his voice?
Yeah, I almost thought that it was gonna be like Master Chief, where there was no like voice at all. I don't know why I thought that. But go.
No, I was gonna say, like,
jokes.
I mean, you're tapping on something. Like, I've had jokes about, like, you know, that it would be awesome if this series never had him speak.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Just like him looking at people like all the time when they're just like yelling stuff at him, and he just like blasts somebody and like just kind of moves on. But no, there's a very handsome man under that helmet, Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones and Kingsman fame. But like, we've never seen him without the helmet in the trailer. We have no idea like what his character face looks like, if that's a spoiler. They've already teased that there's a massive Star Wars universe spoiler for this show in the first like opening of the premiere episode, which is why we don't have any screeners. Yeah. So like we won't be bringing you any early Mandalorian coverage. We're all going to be taking that journey together. You guys are going to have to watch
cool.
with us.
I think that's actually kind of
That is kind of cool to do with Disney Plus, but
don't do it all the time, Disney.
Yeah, I know. Don't do it all the time. Like,
these guys need to write
make my job harder, but but it's cool every so often.
Yeah. And so, but this one just kind of defines a little bit more of the world and the setup and the premise, with some really cool shots and some iconic Star Wars stuff to let you know this is Star Wars. People have been taking issue with like the carbonite freezing.
Why?
Because purists argue that, you know, Han Solo was only thrown in carbonite as...
You lost me at purists, but go ahead.
But the comments are nice this time.
I stopped caring at purists,
but
go ahead.
The whole argument is in Empire Strikes Back, they threw Han Solo in carbonite not because that was like a process for using on people. Mm-hmm. It was for, you know, transporting other things, but they just had to transport him. So they made do with what they had at Cloud City, which was the carbonite process. But again, this is after the original trilogy, so by now, maybe in bounty hunting, carbonite transport, Boba Fett pioneered something that is like now a common practice in bounty hunting.
Wow.
But
that's a cool angle.
Yeah, I mean, it is a way. I'm just trying to explain away the Star Wars plot holes.
I mean, there's honestly a lot of things that I'm just seeing in the trailers, like with the heads on the spikes. I am a huge Walking Dead fanatic, so I'm used to seeing heads on spikes Shout out to the Whisperers. But I don't see a lot of like blood or like hanging guts or anything. I'm curious to see like the violence level and the gore level of how, I mean, it is a bounty hunter show. I'm curious to see what we're going to be looking at.
Star Wars, I mean,
it's
typically
not,
doesn't do any kind of blood or gore. And I mean, to be fair, they're also using weapons that don't generally spill a lot of blood and guts.
This is the episode of sound effects.
We actually got
That's so true. Oh my god, that should have been the title.
And you have money for co-hosts, but not a soundboard. No, but basically, like, oh my god, you guys are making me forget what I'm even saying here. Oh no, because yes, we even got crap because we did a parody video where somebody gets their hand cut off by a lightsaber and there was blood spurting everywhere, and we got yelled at by Star Wars fans.
I love that clarification. Like, I want people to tweet me and tell me more. Like, teach me.
You have no idea what kind of box you're opening right now.
Don't be mean.
Do that to your Twitter.
God, that's
might specify that.
Yes. Good qualifier.
Don't be
mean. Yeah.
Know that like you're trying to get another fan into the like someone that's like a huge diehard.
But like it's like a laser sword. I mean lightsabers are laser swords, so they cauterize any blood.
Yeah.
Blasters aren't going to leave you like with holes and bleeding like bullets.
But this feels as close to Wild Wild West Star Wars as you can get, and there's a style to the
really
action in the trailer that you don't have to see it.
Right.
It makes it count. You know, like there's a couple moments, not just where he's pulling the guy through the door.
Yeah, that could be different because he looks like he's about to cut that guy in half.
Yeah.
The door.
And the suggestion is there. They do a very good job, but then they don't show it. And as long as they walk that line, it'll make me feel like I'm not watching watered down.
Yeah, I don't
Walking
want
Dead
it
or
to be too watered down. Yeah.
No, I mean it's all context because in a Star Wars show, if you see a character pull a guy through a door and then blast the door and cut him in half, even if they don't show it and they just keep the reaction shot on him in the helmet, just like, and everybody behind him like, holy crap. Like,
yeah, I would love that.
That's hard for Star Wars.
Absolutely.
It's light for Walking Dead, but hard for Star Wars. So, context.
Walking Dead's a little heavy.
But,
or if they change the camera angle and like they show it from like the
outside
perspective, but they show the foot twitching, just like a foot or something from the other side of the door, that'll be enough to like sell you that it's violent, but not.
It'd be great. I really feel like
they're gonna. I feel like they're definitely gonna Dark Knight this whole thing.
That's great.
I have not
a little
been
scary, little edgy, but like
I have not been as excited for a Star Wars product in a while. This trailer, I was already on board with the last trailer and stuff like that, but this trailer, I need it. I want to see that.
I want that show now.
Honestly, the big reason why I'm going to be doing the Disney Plus thing, like right when it launches, because I was just going to wait it out.
I'm not sure that's true. There's a lot of weird, crazy movies on there that I feel like you're going to be bringing back and doing references and streams about.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of streams, I know we got the trailer for the Star Wars, the new game that's coming out, and it's on Xbox.
Yeah, that's a good reaction. I
know. It's the one console I don't play.
I mean, Jim Viscardi and BD aren't here. You can express your exasperation with Xbox.
Wait, it's not just on Xbox though.
Is it? Okay, because
no,
the big...
multi-platform.
It'll be multi-platform. You probably saw the Xbox ad, but no. You're safe. Jedi Fallen Order will be available for everybody. It better be.
It better be.
Yeah. But
it's EA, it's Respawn, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be on everything.
Yeah. God. They're trying to get that much. But,
I saw the big X and I was like, no!
Yeah, so The Mandalorian, we did get a couple little clues. There's a nice shot in there. I was just writing up before I walked in here of some battle droids from the Clone Wars. When Werner Herzog saying the whole thing like, I'm sorry, what happened to your family? What happened to your planet? And it suggests that this could be connected back to Clone Wars. This could be a character we met before who grows up to become the Mandalorian. And if you haven't seen the Clone Wars animated series, there's a whole Mandalorian arc in and I've said this many times on the podcast, it's 6 seasons. From season 3 on, you should probably watch season 1 and 2. Yeah, I know, but season 1 and 2 are kind of at the side.
No, I mean from that point on, 3
on is amazing. 3, 4, and 5 especially are really, or 4 and 5 especially.
1 and 2 was still trying to find its voice.
Yeah. But Mandalore plays a major arc in the end of the series as it gets conquered. That's how Darth Maul comes back. He conquers Mandalore with his brother, sets up a whole crime and a puppet government until Palpatine finds out about this and then comes and, kicks his butt. And Mandalore almost is free, except Order 66 happens. They can't free the planet. Everybody has to run away and go into hiding, and it became an Imperial training ground, which it appears again in Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, as a major arc about what happened on Mandalore during the Empire and how it became occupied and how this once independent culture got bent and kind of became puppet for the Empire. So there's a lot of stuff built into these series. Dave Filoni, who made those series, is a producer on this, so it's going to be in there. So if you've been doing deep dives into the animated Star Wars TV stuff that preceded all this, I think there's going to be a lot of good payoff for that. So I'm excited.
And then you can complete your Star Wars party by playing Star Wars Outer Rim, which is a board game based all around the Outer Rim and all the planets and smuggling and trading back and forth. You could do that while you're watching. Boom.
So many dirty jokes. I'm going to leave alone.
I'm just saying.
Played many games.
Stop it. Stop it.
All right. That's a good place to move right along before I get myself in trouble. So moving right along from Star Wars to the world of Game of Thrones. So I thought I had big Game of Thrones news when we came in here. This is actually a good connective thread because two of the guys who made Game of Thrones, D.B. Weiss and David Benoif.
The luckiest two people in the world.
Yeah. And who made that series and kind of disappointed a lot of people in the end. Got hooked up to do a Star Wars trilogy, which was supposed to be the next trilogy we're getting after the sequel trilogy. And many people thought this is going to be Knights of the Old Republic. That's why they got the Game of Thrones guys, and we were kind of like waiting to see where this goes. Well, these dudes have dropped out. They're not doing Star Wars anymore. They said, oh, thank you. It's been a great opportunity. It's been the achievement of our lifetime sitting in a Star Wars writer's room. It's like, dude, you made Game of Thrones and got paid. Shut up. Like, this isn't your achievement.
But according to their Q&A, they didn't know jack all before they went in the Game of Thrones. And so I would find it hard for anybody just a sideways rant. You saw that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
How would you not be resentful? Okay, so they did like a Q&A and the Q&A all about Game of Thrones and like how they came into it. And I would be like so resentful if I was like a Game of Thrones fan and read all the stuff that they said. It was, So hearing this.
What, were they saying that they just didn't know anything?
They didn't know anything. Essentially, they were just like, we don't even know why they picked up the pilot. It was terrible. And like, we had film school. Essentially, HBO paid us to do film school while we did this. And we didn't know how to do costuming. And we didn't know, and we don't like fan, like, it was so much.
It's like we're not contractually obligated to shut our mouths. So here's everything we've been cutting ourselves over for like the last 8 years.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I feel a little betrayed.
Yeah,
it's Hollywood. Don't meet your heroes.
That's true.
Just keep thinking everybody's great. You'll be a lot better. Not end up dead in a motel off West Hollywood. So. They're gone from Star Wars. Rian Johnson's back. He's up next. I know some of those haters out there.
Yes!
So bad. So Rian Johnson, Last Jedi director, is still making his trilogy, so he's up next, guys. So suck it, Last Jedi haters. Brandon Davis, you are not going to get your Game of Thrones Star Wars.
I can't wait to read the comments on this.
Yeah, but like...
for real.
This wasn't even the end of the...
Don't be mean.
So this is a connected story. I mean, to kind of put this to bed, I feel bad about that in the sense that I thought like the one thing they'd be good is doing Knights of the Old Republic, but then I heard that Game of Thrones article, and I'm not so sure anymore because they apparently don't know anything about anything. So.
I mean, they seemed more informed about like Lucasfilms and things like that than I think they were with the Game of Thrones stuff. I mean, in the interview or in the statement.
Yeah, like I said in the office, as like a only semi-joke, it's better to find out now before you're halfway through Han Solo.
That's true.
Yeah, so like let's just get it settled now. And to all you blaming Kathleen Kennedy, stop it. Like just stop. Oh my God, it's all online. Of course.
Why did I
if a powerful woman is behind any kind of like upset or personnel change or having to fire somebody, then there's always backlash.
I thought her statement was pretty solid, though.
Dude, she's like a pro at this. I'm just
basically
about,
keeping the door open.
No, she's not doing
if
anything.
They want to come
it's
back.
Just our weird gender biased society that sometimes like sees this happen. It's like she's the one who did it. She got us kicked out of the garden. I mean, she's ruining Star Wars. Like, yeah, it's just nuts. But Kathleen Kennedy, these are creative differences. They probably just couldn't come to a vision or something, and they split ways, and everybody's cool about it. So let's not get too hyped about that. But in the Game of Thrones world, that's not the only thing that's happening. This I just threw in here because it happened right before we came in. There was like an onslaught of news. I mean, we could have redone this whole show probably, so I can't make shows too early. But there was a Game of Thrones prequel pilot coming to HBO. It was been in production with Naomi Watts and this whole cast, and there was this whole kind of rumor about what it was going to be about the Andals coming to Westeros, possibly the rise of the Lannister family. Now that's gone. That ain't happening.
No.
So that got canceled. HBO's not moving forward with it. The Game of Thrones prequel is canceled, and I'm kind of upset about that because that was the project I was kind of interested in.
Isn't there another one?
Yes, we're going to get to that. Okay. But there's another one. Basically, let's just start there. So I feel like this one was canceled because they got an easier concept, which was Fire and Blood, the Targaryen prequel, which basically, that's a much more
easier to sell,
mainstream, popular thing. And that's what we were talking about the whole time. Last time, like when Brandon was here and we were all talking about this prequel, because the one with Naomi Watts seemed like it was for the deep dive book reading fans who know like the whole deep history of Westeros, what Andals are, all of that, how the culture changed, how nobody looked like Lannisters or had the Seven and that whole religion. It's basically a story of how they came over from England to America and, repopulated America to look like English people.
Yeah.
So that was going to be kind of the story of this, rumored to be, or it was going to take place across the Narrow Sea. It just sounded very deep and intricate and like I said, a lot of more political intrigue and stuff like that would have probably confused a lot of people. Because they've seen something. They were filming it. We've seen production photos of Naomi Watts in this crazy, elaborate gold dress, all over the world. They did this.
I didn't know it was already filming.
I didn't know it was already filming.
It was already in
either.
production. It was getting ready
Then
to
why
go
did
underway.
it get pulled?
I think they just kind of looked at what it was and were like, we can't sell this. Let's just do the Targaryen thing. Because Game of Thrones is easy a world to just get so confused and lost in. And like I said, if you're trying to do what was happening across the Narrow Sea in the free cities and one person who came and tracking the beginning of this whole other racial thing, this stuff people weren't really invested in. People like the magic, the dragons, all that kind of surface level stuff.
And you get that with the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get Targaryens, you get a name, a history you were kind of steeped in and familiar with. You've heard references to all this stuff. Now just give people dragons and silver-haired wigs and let's go to town. So that's happening.
I mean, I'm glad that's happening, but I kind of wish I had both.
Yeah, me too. And I feel bad for Naomi Watts, who's one of the greatest actresses out here making her big jump to TV.
She can be Targaryen.
Yeah, I mean,
Bring
I
her
hope
over.
they give her something to do.
Bring
HBO.
her over.
It would actually be really
Please make her
smart to do.
Targaryen.
Yeah.
Just go, hey, all right, here's the thing.
We're shifting gears.
We're killing this, but here's this other thing that we have way more confidence in.
Have you heard about the Watchmen? Have you heard about the Watchmen? You want to roll in Watchmen? Yeah, so that's gone. R.I.P. Game of Thrones prequel we never got to see or even know the real name of, but it was good writing about it for months on end, I guess.
Was it?
No. So, moving right along. We have a trailer out for the new horror film, The Grudge. Or, new horror film, oh my God. For the reboot of 2000.
It's one of those days, folks.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about a day where hardly any of us in the office have said two words to each other. And we just can't get inside for a fire drill today.
True.
Everybody's just over Tuesday today. But so, the 2000s J-horror kind of classic series, The Grudge, is getting rebooted. This trailer came out. It wasn't really news to me because I saw this at New York Comic Con and I did the whole panel for it. There was more in this trailer than what they showed at Comic Con, but I did the round tables and that whole thing and talked about it with the director, and we have those interviews and whatnot. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Basically, this story takes place. It's an interquel, so it takes place at the time of the Grudge movie. The original one was Sarah Michelle Gellar, except this one examines. What the Grudge series eventually reveals is that it's not confined to this one house. That what the curse that starts in this one house could be carried like a plague over different places and infect other places and people. God. And so this is a story about how it leaks into America. So instead of trying to remix J-horror and Japanese culture, they're just taking it to America and they're making some switches. Because it's American. And the director was really kind of, Nicholas Pierce, I think his name is, was very kind of smart. He seemed like a really smart guy and had a real good vision for what this should be. And he was just explaining in The Grudge, the ghosts are based on kabuki theater and the white face and the black around the eyes and all that. But in America, we're going to have different folklore for what ghosts and evil spirits look like. So they're going to look different. The lady from Insidious and Something About Mary, I forget her name off the top of my head. The tan lady in Something About Mary with the dog. Mary's roommate, Magda. She plays an old lady, and there's a scene where she's cutting off her own fingers and stuff.
I watched the trailer.
No,
that
this
wasn't
was like
in the trailer.
Okay.
That
and,
wasn't
like,
in the trailer.
everybody in this panel was like about to puke because it's just like really hardcore, like her instead of cutting board, like just slicing.
Oh my
fingers.
God.
She's possessed. It's nuts.
I
But it
haven't
has a
watched Dancing with the Stars today after watching. I literally was watching this. I watched this trailer and it really messed me up.
It's a freaky trailer.
I turned
It's
on
really good.
Dancing with the Stars
that's why
to
I
like stop.
That's even scarier.
I know, it was pretty scary. It was Halloween night. It was scary that I was watching it. What? Okay, moving on.
No, go, please. Regale us with this tale.
No, it was just, it's
Dancing with the
terrifying.
Stars. Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be a freaky movie.
It's a really freaky trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they even do a nice little reversal of the Sarah Michelle Gellar shower scene.
Oh my God.
Yeah, except they gave people John Cho, which ladies were loving in the panel. Yeah, she and John Cho in the shower there, just getting gripped up by the hair. Sparked a lot of fantasies, I feel.
I mean, I like him.
Yeah, there you go. See, case in point.
I do a lot.
There you go. So I'm not hating on John Cho.
No, I was really
You get
excited
that
to see
screen
him.
queen. You get that screen queen money, John Cho. You get that. But yeah, I'm interested in this. I liked the J horror ones. I liked the original, the Grudge, like the actual Japanese one, and I also thought the American remake did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping it set in Japan, they just threw an American girl. Sarah Michelle Gellar, I like her. Grudge 2 was a little bit weaker, but I'm kind of happy to see this series come back because I think once you take this concept and expand it, you could do some interesting things with it. And this is what this is doing. Like the whole, this is a plague.
Yeah.
Once you step into that house, you're basically dead. Like, this whole thing is going to get, and I think this director's going to play with the concept a lot more.
That trailer creeped me out, and I had to go watch
Dancing with the
It
Stars.
wasn't Dancing with the Stars. I don't remember what it was,
Dun, dun, dun,
but it was like I had to go do something.
Yeah, and there's a great cast. Andrea,
freaked
like
me
I said,
out.
the lady from Something About Mary, who's in Insidious, John Cho,
I don't like
Andrea.
people crawling up on walls.
No,
It
me
freaks
neither.
out.
The
I don't like that
hands.
Dude,
kind
that's
of.
Oh,
the
that
freakiest
wasn't even
thing
a
about-
person. That was like a thing.
Yeah, I don't like.
I don't even know
spooky
what it
movies
was.
in general. Just in general.
Best
I
part
don't
about
like
horror
that
is things that move irregularly.
stuff.
like
The
weird
stutter
things.
step.
The
you know,
noise when
Thing-
he first.
That's classic.
Oh my
Exorcist
gosh.
3, man. In the
I
hospital,
don't
the mental
like-
hospital with the nurse crawling up on the ceiling.
That's why Silent Hill used to bother me so much. It was because
yeah.
the nurses and the stuff would they would speed up.
Yep.
And they would speed up, and it would freak me out. Normal speed is fine. When they start doing that weird stutter step thing,
Lizard, I call it
stop.
lizard speed.
Don't. No.
No, that's a good things that move irregularly. Are some of the
I'm actually
scariest
really
things ever.
curious because the Japanese version, it was Japanese. They said they took the Grudge and the Ring and they like put it versus each other, kind of like Alien versus Predator, like over there. And it's been a huge success. Yes, I know. I read that in the article, and now
these are like they've done stupid popular.
it's
like, crazy
huge
things
over
with
there.
franchises, Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that
they've
they
had like Freddy vs. Jason matches and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, those I get. Yeah, those I get. But that's an interesting pairing.
Yeah, the Ring versus Grudge. That's really crazy.
But yeah, man, I'm kind of excited to see this come back, and this is rated R. So just the Grudge was rated PG-13.
Okay.
J horror was all about that PG-13 play. The Ring was PG-13 too. But this one is hard R. So it's going to go down. Like I said, cutting off fingers and whatnot. All right, stay tuned because when we come back, we're going to talk about DC's new Superman TV series concept, and Matt is going to break down all of the hot comics for us this week. So be sure not to miss that. Alrighty then, let's talk. So, things have changed in the world of Superman in the last 10 years or so. Zack Snyder tried to reinvent, after the whole Smallville thing on TV, Bryan Singer tried to do Superman Returns, that didn't work. Zack Snyder tried to launch a DC universe starting with Man of Steel, which made a huge impact, but a very divisive impact at the same time. There are people who religiously swear by Man of Steel, like me and Joe Blackman. And then there are people who absolutely hate Man of Steel, like trollish Dan Slott was on Twitter all weekend yelling at people.
Dan Slott doesn't like Man of Steel.
Dan Slott. I had to put on my phone and erase my tweet coming at Dan Slott for Dan Slott coming at fans of Man of Steel.
Wow.
And coming at Zack Snyder too. So I just had to put my phone down that. But I saw you, Slott. But anyway, so
Proud of
it's
you.
a very divisive kind of, it was a very growth moment for me. Dan Slott was, I mean, oh my God, I'm so
You're welcome.
picture, and let's forget that picture on my dartboard and talk about Superman. So, after Man of Steel, there's been this impression of Superman that has like really pissed a lot of people off because Man of Steel, Superman killed people. He wasn't as experienced. That whole conversation with his dad about let people die, not saving his dad, blah, 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 blah. And there's been we need to return and make Superman like, not great again, but friendly again and happy-go-lucky and blah, 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 classic Superman, blah, 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 blah. Well, we're getting that. The CW and Warner Brothers Television has announced they're making Superman and Lois because Lois and Clark was already used in the 90s. So there's going to be a new Superman TV series coming to the Arrowverse starring Tyler Hoechlin and I forget, Liz Tulloch or whatever her name is that plays Lois Lane.
It's we were just talking about this. Bitsy?
Yeah, but I think her name is actually like Elizabeth.
Is it really?
Oh, okay. Because in the article, we were actually wondering.
You were like, is that
like maybe that's
Bitsy?
a family name?
Oh,
or
no, such a different name.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she has like an English. It's a very Elizabeth Tulloch.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank
But her
goodness.
name is Bitsy, but her real name is Elizabeth, but she goes by Bitsy.
Okay.
This is some English stuff, man, I'm telling you. So,
See? Yeah. There we go.
so
I like it.
I like that. Now we should make you do these accents. That was pretty good. But yeah, so we're getting this TV series based on the Arrowverse Superman and Lois Lane, who first appeared in Supergirl, but have been part of like the Arrowverse crossovers. They were on Elseworlds, and they might have been in Earth X too. I forget. But they've been supporting players in the Arrowverse. They show up for arcs here and there. And Tyler Hoechlin's been like kind of owned that role. People like it.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Yeah, he's good at it. He's like good at playing kind of like a gosh shucks, like that classic Clark Kent, but not making it like nostalgic cheesy.
Yeah.
He kind of keeps it modern, but still does the kind of happy-go-lucky nerdy guy really well. And he does the Superman stuff really well. He's kind of a mix of like edgier and classic lighthearted Superman.
That's nice.
Yeah, and so this is a series that is going to bring back like that fun kind of Lois and Clark romantic thing, battle of the sexes kind of undertone to it. Like not like playfully, not like Superman and Lois aren't going at it like, head to head, but it's going to be a series where he's doing Superman stuff, but she's just showing how, equal of a partner she can be for Superman and stuff like that.
The whole thing is that they're raising a kid as parents in this time and in these roles of being a superhero.
Which is something that's coming through in like the comics these days, right?
Him and his son? And that's a huge part.
Yeah, so like the Bendis influence. And everything's going to probably get straightened out by like, because there's been this whole thing where Superman doesn't exist in the main Arrowverse. He's on Earth, whatever, I forget what Earth Supergirl takes place on, but he's on that Earth and like not in the main Arrowverse. But after Crisis on Infinite Earths, we're expecting it's all going to get mainstreamed. Everything's going to be in the same universe. Black Lightning, Arrow, Flash, Superman,
You think Black Lightning, because I figure everything else, but Black Lightning's that one where, I don't know.
Well, he's going to be in Crisis, so they're bringing him in, and I would assume, I'm just assuming, I can't say for sure, but I'm assuming that after Crisis,
keep it all.
Everything will be one Arrowverse.
Makes it easier for them.
Exactly.
It makes it easier for people who are not watching anymore and very confused by this article.
Exactly.
And anyone who's listening and doesn't quite follow all of this stuff, I don't know if you're going to need to be able to watch the show.
No.
Superman and Lois.
No, it'll be a jumping off.
So I'm with you.
So that's going to be a big thing. But of course, it seems like we can never win with Superman because there are just as many people angry about this now as there were.
Who's angry about this?
There are a lot of things. Dude, go look at Twitter. Half of the responses were no.
Really?
No, do not need this. Like, you know how it goes. Yeah. And
I just don't know why. I guess it's so weird. It's not like they're taking
like it'll be a
show
sign,
away to make room for it. They're giving it to you in addition to, you don't lose anything.
And they've also said that like Superman in film is not going to be around for a while, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's still just like a hanging question. We don't know.
And at least we get to consume this in some other way. Like, I mean,
you can't like what? Why of all the things to get mad at? I would totally get it if they were like, "Hey, Supergirl, we can't have two super people on the CW network at the same time with shows. So like, You go over there and we'll put Superman. Like, I would totally get it if that were the case. I'd get the outrage.
We already have a Batwoman.
Yeah, right? Like, I would
only need one.
I would get that. But no, it's an addition to, then don't watch it. I personally, like, I enjoy his take on Superman. It's fun, it's modern, and it's good. I like her as Lois Lane too. You know, I don't know if I personally was like looking for like a whole show of them. I like that he was kind of a part of Supergirl's world, and you could have him for a couple episodes at a time or an arc, and then be like, okay, cool, let's get back to just Supergirl's adventures, and then have him commit. I liked that, but I'm cool with it. I don't see why anyone would have a problem.
You know, it's a CW, so I always worry about the kind of the domestic story. Like the Lois and Clark at home as parents story.
Same. I feel like I can't relate. I don't have like a family. I haven't started a family yet or anything like that. So I'm more into like the Flash and I don't know. It's just not. I don't know if this is like something that I would be super pumped about. But I also don't watch like sitcoms with like parents and kids.
I don't necessarily want to watch this either because I don't need to compare myself to Superman raising kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He has a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, like he has limitless energy as opposed to
what I will say is that depending now, I'm not up to date on some of my like CW stuff.
Same.
So what I will say is, so what I will say is that them raising someone, does their child have powers? Because in the books,
I don't think it's ever been like introduced into the actual shows yet. I mean, I let me put this out there, this caveat. I have not watched Supergirl since the middle of season 3.
Yeah.
So whatever's happened with Superman on that show, I am unaware of.
Okay. So in the books, that's the thing that makes it interesting is that John, their son, has powers like his dad.
Gosh, I would imagine that they would put that in the show.
Yeah, and he has a direct correlation to Batman because Batman has Damian Wayne, so he's trying to raise his ex-assassin son. Meanwhile, you have Clark trying to raise this super-powered, godlike kid. And together, they're great because you can actually see them growing up and difference in parental methods and all this other stuff. That's interesting, right?
That is interesting. Yeah.
So seeing a show about that, I'd be more excited about. But as far as this right now, I don't know if they're going there. So it kind of remains to be seen. But there is potential there.
Yeah.
If they can do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there is. I think people have seen just like the photos and the title Superman and Lois and the premise, and they're just like, grr. They're like, oh man, this is going to be a bad sitcom dressed up as Superman. But there is. And so far, I mean, it seems like the CW has been refining itself with every new thing. Like the last series that have launched, Black Lightning, Batwoman, have been like pretty enjoyable. More so enjoyable than like early Arrow or Flash,
especially Black Lightning.
Like,
Black Lightning's been getting great reviews.
Yeah, no, that's been a great show. That's been a great show and like just well done and kind of like unique and for especially letting the CW kind of expand in a certain kind of way. So we're gonna say maybe like the formula and things will be different. I mean, this will literally be a whole new world after Crisis. So I'm kind of excited to see like what it is and like where this goes. And hopefully this is a Superman series that can really just bring this fandom together again in some kind of way and something to like this weird, because I feel like America's going to fall apart until Superman gets figured out. Like
they really need to figure this out.
Think about it.
Or just
think
give us an answer.
Correlation.
Yeah.
Things have been going downhill ever since we've lost touch with how we all view Superman.
What's great is though, Superman in the comics has been really good lately.
You'll get to have your time to shine.
Well, no.
Don't stop.
This week it's not in this week.
You'll get your time.
I'm just talking in the past. In the
Stop
general, in the
reclaim
past.
your time.
Isn't there like rumor that Supergirl might be making her way into the films, or is that just like hopeful,
I remember
like,
hearing
wishful thinking? Or
rumor.
I've heard too many things about Warner Brothers and DC films to.
Okay.
I mean, I just wrote up a thing right before we walked in about how they're going to probably start producing them for HBO Max. So I don't know.
What?
Oh, by the way, we probably should touch on that because.
Yeah, okay. Why not? Hey, we're here. We got time.
Only because my big thing was that, and they only had this to say about it. HBO Max is making a Green Lantern series.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So, which I'm ecstatic about. Now, that was literally the entire pitch that they had was, hey, we're making it. We're developing it and calling it the biggest show they've done because we're going to space and we're doing a Green Lantern series.
Wow.
We have no idea what Green Lantern. We have no idea, like, I mean, the core, there's so many different ways they could go with that.
Wow.
We have no idea. But HBO Max Green Lantern, I'm at least interested.
Yeah, and this was all part of a larger report about how HBO Max is, this is a breakdown of variety about how 2020, everybody's gearing up for these streaming wars. Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Apple TV, Peacock. I always forget about that one. And part of the game, since Netflix has kind of launched into locking down big blockbuster movie events as releases, Bird Box, Bright, so on and so forth, is now every streaming service is trying to figure out what kind of blockbuster movie tentpoles they can anchor their service with. And for HBO Max, which is based on Time Warner and Warner Media, DC is going to be a huge IP generator for that. Yeah. So for the way for them to kind of bring something that's uniquely exclusive to HBO Max is going to be leaning on Warner Brothers and specifically its DC properties, which is where we got the news that they'll probably start making like blockbuster-sized DC films to release exclusively on HBO Max. And we're going to get this Green Lantern series, and this is where the DC Universe streaming service, RIP DC Universe, that seems like it's, I mean, we know Doom Patrol's coming back for season 2 on HBO Max. Like other series, like Young Justice is getting a new season.
Yeah, like I don't even think it's, like, I mean, I don't even think we're getting the thing of like, it's canceled, it's going away anymore. They're just going to fold it into,
they're going to fold it into HBO Max.
Because Stargirl's coming and all of those are going to get second seasons.
And again, because it makes sense. Because if you're looking for something to distinguish Warner Brothers media in streamer, besides offering people HBO and Cinemax, it's like what you have to have, like I was writing, like a blockbuster franchise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't just say, we're going to give you HBO and Cinemax, and HBO is going to put out some HBO original movies, and Cinemax is going to put out some original, like, no. You need a franchise. And what franchise do they have besides, like, Harry Potter is DC. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you're going to take, and now you have already literally you put out a skeleton as a full streaming service in DC Universe. Yeah. But you have that skeleton there. It's easy just to take those bones and shove them into this new body. And be like, yeah, we have HBO, we have Cinemax, we have all the DC stuff. Like,
that's a nice pickup. Yeah. I mean, to me, I've been on the fence with HBO Max because it's just of its price point and the fact that I have like 7
Give it to me. Things. For anyone who doesn't know, what exactly is going on with HBO Max and how much it's going to be, and
So HBO Max right now already includes Warner Media's backlogs, so like their comedies, their sitcoms, their movies, and then for right now it's murky because like some people who already have HBO get HBO Max for free if you're an AT&T customer.
Oh my gosh,
that's 10 million people.
Okay,
HBO has 35 million subscribers. So, but to get all those other people HBO Max for free, they have to like work out all kinds of other deals with TV pay. So that gets complicated. So right now it's essentially like Warner Brothers stuff. Right now, all of DC's like animated shows and all that stuff exists only on DC Universe.
Okay.
But that's the thing. If they can just fold all that in, get all the DC comics, make it like Marvel Unlimited, $14.99 a month, which is what it currently sits at, is like a lot more doable in my brain.
Yeah.
When you add all that extra value as opposed to just right now, do you get, I mean, there's going to be some good content, especially when they get like Friends back. That's 2021 or 2020. Yeah.
2021 maybe.
So some of those things. So it's just right now there's just not enough. But if you were to take that DC Universe content and then stick it on there and say you get all this other stuff exclusive, then I have a lot easier time swallowing it.
Yeah, I mean, same here. Like HBO has great original series, Cinemax has great movies. DC would be exclusive stuff for all the superhero and the big franchise stuff, and Warner Brothers has a nice like little library. So yeah, you're starting to talk about something that's worth the money then.
Right.
So that's what's happening with Warner Media, and so we'll see how that whole thing goes with Green Lantern and all these other things. Matt, take us home. Tell us what's going on. Let's go back to our roots because this is Comicbook.com. And tell us what's going on with comics this week.
So that thing I was actually, we talked about Superman, and we've been talking about Action Comics in the past few weeks about that. It's been really good. This week, there's a great Superman. There's two really good Superman stories, but neither one is like your traditional Superman story, and they're both kind of dark. So the last issue of Deceased hits this week.
Oh man, really?
Deceased number 6, Tom Taylor. It's been fantastic, and this issue is like hits like a gut punch like 3 different times. By the way, spoilers, because we in our reviews we heard that we are spoilerific. There are going to be spoilers here because I just can't not talk about some of them. So spoilers, warning. Only listen to this if you've read the book already. So.
We should like put that as part of our title.
We really
like,
should.
Just
You don't
Comic
mind,
Book
do you?
Nation spoilers.
Have you read it? Do you want me to avoid it?
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
The end of the last issue, we essentially saw Superman finally fall.
What? Oh, come on, man. Like, I was going to read this thing.
I just asked you. So we saw Superman fall, and that was last issue. So we saw Superman fall to the anti-life equation, and so like now it's the remaining heroes are trying to get all the survivors onto Ark so they can get off the planet, and they're trying to face down a raging Superman. And there are so many, like this series has been really good about like having brutal moments, but moments that like they're brutal but they're poignant still. They still have emotion and they're still centered on characters. This one has a ton. There's one moment where like we were talking about John Kent, his son, and him end up like coming to blows, and it's screwed up because at that point Superman's missing an arm, and I won't say like how he loses the arm, but there's this whole screwed up thing. People die in some really screwed up ways, but each one just like leaves you with like really emotional stuff. Like it was like 3 different times. It hit so hard. I'm trying not to hit every single spoiler here. I'm really trying to be
You're doing
vague.
a good job.
I'm trying to be vague, but it's
Like,
really
page
good.
22 you're on.
But there's so many good parts in here,
You're like
and
Akashi 6'9" of
it's so good though, and you should definitely read it. Read the series. It leaves things in a very interesting place. I do not know yet if they're going to do like a sequel or if they're going to do another
I
series.
hope not. It seems like this would be just this has been a great standalone.
It has, but there's like 2 pieces to the ending that leave it in a place like you kind of go, okay, I could actually see you reading more issues of that. It leaves it in a place where it wouldn't feel forced. So that's all I'll say about that. Very good. It's excellent. Also, they've been doing these Tales from the Dark Multiverse one-shots, which are taking the dark Batman that came out not too long ago and showing little different stories that are happening on these other universes. And this one takes the death of Superman, one of the most well-known stories in DC, and puts the premise of Lois Lane becoming her own version of Superman. So essentially, Eradicator came to save Clark in that original storyline. Do you remember that?
Original, like you remember Janelle, like yes.
No, but that's interesting.
I don't say. I say it like I don't know if she does.
No, but that's interesting with Lois.
So Lois becomes. You see like her pain and her grief and dealing with the fact that like the world doesn't appreciate.
Sell me on it.
No, it doesn't appreciate Clark. Because you see the world after his death, and she slowly builds up to this thing of like, you didn't appreciate him, and he sacrificed everything for you. And then you see her kind of turn and get powers, but like it ends in a way that again is like this other gut punch that I didn't see coming, and it's screwed up, but it leaves you with like you have this memory of like, man, I'm not gonna forget that story. It's a really interesting take on a well-known story.
What I'm taking away from all of this is you're really emotionally vulnerable right now.
No, I'm just saying it was very good.
It's good for me.
So we're gonna spruce things up. Okay, so next is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 44, Omega Rangers versus Lord Zed. It's awesome. See, I went positive. There wasn't a lot of emotional depth.
Emotionally vulnerable, just happy.
So Harleen number 2. This has been, and I always mess up his name, so I'm not gonna say his name. Everyone messes up his name. That's why he always says he has a pronunciation thread on his Twitter feed. So either way, you should check out Harleen number 2. If you are a big fan of seeing why you're seeing the process of why Harley ended up falling for the Joker. But it's a more nuanced take on it. It's actually step by step, as opposed to just, hey, this psychiatrist who is trained to not fall for people like that falls for him. Instead of that one note thing, it explores that. There's actual story and emotion behind it. Don't say anything about me saying emotion. Dang it.
It's like if this is DC Black Label, you could just. Really
that is Black Label.
Oh, so then just do like a full splash page of.
Don't. Going to the lighter side of things, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 99. That has been actually very good. City at War. They introduced a new turtle, and they've been doing some really interesting things with the mythos and backlore. So if you are a Turtles fan, you should definitely check that out. Excalibur number 1. Is the next big Dawn of X title. I imagine we'll have our thoughts on the issue next
Now that
episode.
remember it exists, yes. Yes, we will.
On a personal note, this was probably my least favorite amongst.
Really selling me on this.
No, well, I'm just telling you what's out there. It is going to be, though, it's going to appeal to a certain type of X-Men fan. A certain type of Marvel fan. But for people who have been kind of following along with us and House of X and Powers of X, this might not be what you're expecting. So that's good or bad. Dead Man Logan. Spoiler, we've been waiting 12 issues for Logan to die. The book is called Dead Man Logan.
Oh my God.
It lives up to the name finally 12 issues later. It is...
It's like the... Walking Dead before Angela came aboard.
People have been like, there's a whole series dedicated to this dude dying. So it finally happens. It is interesting what they do, and they're actually building a future out of this that actually surprises me in how interesting it looks. Because I really thought this would be the closed chapter, and we put this whole old man Logan thing to bed. They're not. They're spinning out a whole Avengers series from it. It won't die, but it does. This as a conclusion to Logan's story is actually quite good. And then speaking of Marvel Zombies Resurrection number 1, I have nothing to say. These books have never been for me, these Marvel Zombies books, but people love them. So number 1 is out for this new series. It's going to sell a billion copies. So that is out. Also, Venom number 19, if you're keeping up with Absolute Carnage, it is actually a very good tie-in. Kind of takes place before the last issue of Absolute Carnage, but fills in some really interesting blanks. So, and then Bloodshot number 2, finally. We are getting the Vin Diesel movie. If you are new to that character or you're looking for a story to kind of get on board with, this is really like a popcorn flick, fun series, and it brings you up to speed with who the character is, and it's got some stylish action, so you should give it a shot. So that is comics.
Cool.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for riding along with us. If you're just now joining the show, we put up new episodes every Wednesday and every Friday. Our Wednesday episodes always feature Janelle Wheeler over here. So be sure you guys are listening to both, because like I said, you guys check in on the weekends a lot, but make sure you also listen to our awesome Wednesday episodes where we give you kind of the ground floor of what's happening during the week. We're in the, as you can hear, news just keeps dropping. We just keep trying to keep up with it. So be sure to listen to that episode too. If you want to subscribe to the show regularly, you can find an RSS feed in the episodes we post every Wednesday and Friday on Comicbook.com, or you can subscribe on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Playlist, or tell any Amazon Alexa device to fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will do so. You can always find us on YouTube as well under the Comicbook.com page, where you can find videos of these podcast segments for your easy YouTube viewing. If you want to continue the conversation about anything we talked about, just hit us up at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can reach me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can hit me up at Matt Aguilar CB.
And you can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
And if you want to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we will be semi-regularly reading reviews. And if we read yours on air, we send you a t-shirt. So be sure to get those 5-star reviews in on iTunes. Okay. That'll do it for this episode. I'm Kofi Outlaw. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Comic Book Nation, and we're getting out of here. So peace.
Deuces.